All right, the Patriots announced today that Tyquan Thornton has been placed on IR, and he will now miss the first 4 games of the season. Thornton is dealing with a shoulder injury. He began his rookie season the exact same way, missing the first 4 games. Is this just another offensive bust for the Pats? Here are all the offensive players Bill Belichick drafted in the first 3 rounds since 2012. Of the 14 players, get this, zero Tommy Curran have been signed to second contracts. And Mac Jones is the only one who made a Pro Bowl, and he should have been an All-Pro that year as a member of the Patriots. No, really. He
almost went right past him.
Okay, he made the Pro Bowl as an alternate. All right, Mike Felger, Tommy Curran. So, Curran, if you look at those numbers, all those picks, no second contracts, does that tell the story that Bill Belichick doesn't know what he's doing when it comes to offensive players, or does it tell the story of something else?
It tells a couple of different stories. One, his offensive acumen in terms of personnel is not good. And I've said this a couple of times, and a couple of years ago I said maybe Bill should divest himself of offensive input when it comes to bringing in players. And it's harder and harder to move off of that, despite the fact that there's Lombardi trophies all over the place. I'll also say this. When you look at Bill's operating procedure, let's look at the offensive line. Trent Brown was a 7th-round pick. Cole Strange was a reach first-round pick, according to the rest of the league. Undrafted David Andrews. Micah Wenner was a 6th-round pick. Their right tackle was Isaiah Wynn, who was a first-round pick and played like an undrafted free agent. Ramondre Stevenson, 4th. Hunter Henry, basically wherever they spend money, it goes belly up. They sometimes strike it rich lower down. So you can't help but conclude that they're not good at picking when the ball is on a tee for them, Mike Felger.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like they may have hit on 2 receivers at the bottom of the draft, but couldn't hit the guy they tried in Tyquan Thornton. Like, that's the example. But it is a flaw. I'd say it's a fatal flaw, but that's probably too strong for the best coach of all time. But it's definitely a blind spot. There's just not many coaches or teams, fellas, that would draft a quarterback in the first round and then hand him over to those 2 hammerheads last year on the sideline. And then in year 3, do what they did on the offensive line. They'll go defense with their first 3 picks when they have glaring needs at tackle for sure. Tight end could be on that list. Receiver could be on that list. Most any team that's drafting a quarterback in the first round is prioritizing surrounding them and getting the most out of that investment. And Bill's like, we'll figure it out. And that's a Bill thing.
Michael Holley, when you look at the tight end management too, I mean, who gets down to tight end management? But Rob Gronkowski had a foot out the door for about 5 years. They never did anything and drafted Ryan Izzo and Lee Smith. When finally Gronk is gone for a year and they can't even do anything at the position with Brady at the controls, they finally go and get 2 guys, neither of whom catches more than 7 passes for the team and gets shown the gate. And then the next year, they spend combined, $110 million on Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, and they only get that half right. To me, this is born of an inability to either figure out what you want to do or who can play well for you. It's mind-blowing, and it would be fireable were it not for the fact that there are ways that they cobble it together and stay at 500 or a little better.
And the tight end is a good place to look. And you think about it, it wasn't just that duo of Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, the free agent duo. How about the draft duo of Devin Asiasi, who people said, wait a minute, no, you can't take him in the 3rd round. Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene, both of those guys could not be used by the Patriots. They move out the door. And then we have that list up there and all those picks. One guy who didn't get a second contract and is still thriving is Joe Thuney. You got that one right. You probably should have given him a second contract. Now he's in Kansas City, being well paid there. So at times they just flat out miss these draft picks. And then when you get a couple right, you don't bring them back for another look. You know what? This is what I want to ask you guys. Why is it? Why is it you can have a record this bad in the first 3 rounds since 2012? Why is it you don't do what Miami did and go out and get Tyreek Hill? You don't do what Philadelphia did and go out and get A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Why won't they do that? Because that's something they haven't tried yet. I'm not talking about spending in free agency on Nelson Aguilar and those guys. I'm talking about going high. Let's aim high, Willis. Go way up there for the top guys. Why won't they do it?
Okay, well, Bill's not wired to do that. Mm-hmm. And the organization isn't wired to spend money. I mean, it's just that's what they are. I mean, this is a pretty, we know how they operate, both as a business and we know how Bill operates as a coach. You know, a comp that I'm looking at that's starting to interest me is the Pittsburgh Steelers. In roughly the same spot as you, Roethlisberger moved on a year after Brady. And they've pretty much been drafting just behind you, or at least right around you, but mostly behind you in the time since. And I look at Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett had a perfect quarterback rating in the preseason. Not that that matters, but you sort of wonder. You look there and you look at Deontay Johnson, and you look at Pickens the receiver, and you look at Pickett the quarterback, and they got a tight end in Freiermuth, and they're the one you gave them your first-round pick to draft the offensive tackle this year to give that passing game. Not that I care about the running back, but they've got a pretty top-end running back in Najee Harris. And you sit there and you go, has Pittsburgh already passed you offensively, drafting lower than you and starting later than you just because they know how to draft receivers, or they're just better at it than Bill Belichick is? I mean, that's one that I sort of look at and go, boy, like that, it feels like Pittsburgh's back on track offensively and you're still trying to figure it out.
It's funny, too, when you look, the spending thing is agitating to me. And you're not going to agree with me, Mike, but it's Bill. It's not the Crafts. They do not give him a budget and say, you can't spend this. This is a cash limit. It's Bill. That's why they hired him in 2000, and he continues to be all about value. So when he says on WEEI that we spend to the cap's the most important thing. You have to spend to the cap and put the best team on the field. And he's sitting on $15 million of cap space, and there's 107 next year. And fans are telling me on social media, oh, don't worry, they'll re-sign all their own. They won't re-sign Josh Uche. They won't re-sign Michael Onwenu. And they won't re-sign Kyle Duggar. Those guys are going to scoot, and the Patriots are going to have all that money to spend on the Nelson Aguilar of 2024 in a panic buy. So I really think it's a Bill thing. I'm positive it's a Bill thing with the value.
I still don't understand. Why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? Come on, they give you money to spend it. Spend it.